All right,
Yeah.
guys. Well, welcome back to the meat of the matter. We are discussing some good things today because, quite often we get bombarded with all the nutritional dogma, carnivore, vegan, keto, whatever it is, they want to sell something. And unfortunately, I saw a video this morning that I wanted all of us to react to, but go figure, they took it down. So it was a matter of within half an hour. I saw the video, it was about 15 minutes. They talked about everything from the tobacco companies moving into the processed food business, how it's all addictive, how the congressional hearings of all these experts talking about things. What is good advice? What is grifter selling products? We're going to get into all of that today. We do this live every Sunday, so please join us, the Meat of the Matter podcast, Sundays live on our YouTube channels. 10 a.m. We're back to normal time, boys. We're the time zones have caught up. And before we get into this stuff, just how are you doing, guys?
I'm doing very, very well. Welcome back, buddy. How are you today?
Yeah, it feels like I haven't seen you guys forever. It's been a minute. Peter, how you doing?
That's true. Yeah, fine. Yeah. It's business as usual in a way. A lot of other work besides my social media accounts, actually. So I've been a bit quiet lately.
Okay, so let's dive into this hard. Let's go. Okay, so Mark, carnivore diet. Is it a fad diet? Is it healthy?
I think we need to get rid of the word diet when it comes to carnivore. That's just in my opinion. I think the way I see it, it should be the way we all should be eating. It's the optimal way we should be eating. I don't like the word diet in anything at all. I don't think anybody should be on a particular diet, because when they hear the word diet, that automatically they think it's a fad diet. I think we need to move away from the diet and we need to focus on what's optimal and what isn't. Now, in my opinion, what's optimal is what all three of us are doing. We're just eating the food that we should be eating, and it's doing amazing stuff. It's looking after our health properly. Whereas if you look at what's not optimal and you look at what's in our shops and what people are focusing on, which is a low-fat diet, and then you look at the crisis that we're in at the moment, where a lot of people struggling with obesity, type 2 diabetes. I can go on and on and on. I'm going to talk a little bit about autism because it's National Autism Day today, but I'll wait that till later on. But you look at the conditions. There's so many conditions that people are struggling with. Endometriosis, fibromyalgia, PCOS. I deal with an awful lot of women with menopause, all those kind of conditions. I'm always told every day that this is just down to genetics. It just happens out of the blue, but nobody focuses on our food supply. Nobody focuses on, okay, what are we eating? It's all just down to, okay, these
Or
things
not
just
eating.
magic. Yeah, it's just like all these things just magically appeared. And I think we're focusing on the wrong things. We need to move away from the word diet, and we need to focus, as I mentioned from the very, very beginning, we need to focus on what's optimal, and that's proper nutrition. And for me, that's through the carnivore lifestyle.
And like you said a good thing there with diet. Like Peter, when you like, we'll talk from a type 1 diabetic. All these products, all these pushes, all these polarized opinions where it's plant-based, you must. They drive us in the it's undeniable, and you can argue all day long all you want, but it's driven to sell you something. It's obvious. And as a type 1 diabetic, how do you navigate that? About, like, say for instance, you're just starting to become aware of your health, your nutrition. You've been maybe recently diagnosed, or something's been going on for a while and you're just figuring it all out. What's your advice to people to try and, like, navigate the noise?
As a type 1 diabetic, you're confronted with a big problem of not being able to metabolize carbohydrates, right? So for every carbohydrate, you have to inject insulin, exogenous insulin. So you cannot avoid counting all the carbohydrates in your diet and be confronted with the fact that carbohydrates, sugars, fruit sugars, processed food sugars, they are all the same when they enter your body. And when you start looking at that, you'll realize that there's much more than just carbohydrates. You start to look at food labels, you start to look at the ingredients, you start to realize later on also about bioavailability of ingredients, all sorts of things. And then, that's a long journey, of course. But the fact that you start to look at all these details and that it does something with your body, that's a big thing. So that's actually a big positive thing of type 1 diabetes. For me, basically, the real health journey started there. I mean, before my type 1 diabetes, I also was diagnosed with celiac, gluten intolerance. But the real interest and learning process started later on with the type 1 diabetes, because you can no longer avoid it. That's the big thing.
No doubt. Now, we see this, and we've talked about this all the time. Like, whenever something gets popular or fad, we'll call it, or whatever, there's the narrative gets pushed a certain way. It's interesting how they polarize it, and it's an us versus them mentality where, I like to believe as soon as you become aware that if they're trying to sell you something, why? And as soon as you become aware of what your body needs and trying to focus on that, and I mean, we can argue a little bit about what your body. Nobody really knows the exact amounts of what your need. We just know these things, like you need essential fatty acids. That is a non-negotiable. All this plant-based push, and I'm actually going to do a video because I looked through my school recently and I was looking at some of the bullshit that I was dealing with. And they have like a spring, summer, winter, fall diet, and then they list out all of the stuff that you have. There's no protein there. None. Like, they're getting protein from oats and quinoa. And it's like, I could poke holes. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But what is that pushing? And then we always look at these products like, look, keto was dangerous. Keto was, unsustainable. Keto will get you into trouble. But yet when I started this, I know we've talked about this a little bit. All of a sudden, the supermarket is blasted with keto products everywhere. Keto bars, keto snacks, keto treats, keto ice cream, keto this. Well, read the ingredients. Like, Mark, what are you thinking?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's where people are going wrong. Because when they hear the word keto, they're like, okay, well, if I walk into a shop and I see all these brands with keto on it, all I need to do is just follow the trends, follow what these people are trying to sell me. But they're not actually listening to people that are actually living the lifestyle. Because if they were listening to people that were living the lifestyle, none of these people would be telling you, like, listen, you need to be eating these foods. You wouldn't get that information from me. Like, I've always stated from since I've done this that I don't believe in supplements anymore. And this is coming from someone that used to eat. I used to spend a fortune on supplements. I used to spend probably about 200 quid, 300 quid a month on supplements, because that's where I was fed. For years I was fed all this rubbish. You know what I mean? I spent more money on supplements than I did real food. And that's when my health suffered.
Well, when you take the word supplement and actually break what it means, we forget they are not. It's my opinion that we food first. And now,
and isn't it amazing that these supplement companies, they're actually doing incredibly well. Like, they're blown up, because you have all these fake bodybuilders with these abs. They're not even teaching you how to build muscle properly, because they're enhanced athletes. Yeah. So they're on TRT, they're on steroids. People are looking at these people and saying, okay, you want to gain muscle, you need to go to your supplement shop and buy all these products. You look at the women. They're losing all this weight. They're going off and getting surgery. They're getting their boobs done. They're getting their bums done. Then they put this on TikTok, on Instagram. They're showing all the young girls, look at me, I look amazing. But they're not talking about the surgery they got. They're not talking about the brands that are sponsoring them. I've seen so many of these influencers. They're talking shit, and then when you go into their profile, they're actually selling these products.
Yeah. That's the thing that I wanted to talk about today. Now, this video that I saw, you had the Liver King, you had Dr. Michael Greger. They didn't hold back, and they were talking. They weren't nice about a lot of the carnivore pushes, where and I'm trying to look at this with discernment. Obviously, we have our bias. Obviously, we've done our thing, but I'm always on the lookout for what's actually right. And it's my opinion that the further you get away from nature, probably probably the worse you're gonna be. Now, there's so many avenues that you can go down where, and supplements is one of them. Like, why are you getting a supplement when you can be getting it from food? And now, when you're getting what you believe is ultimate full human nutrition, essential amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals, you may have a problem. Digestion, absorption, genetically, there may be something that you need to address. Well, that's modern. We have supplements. Yes. Okay. But where do you draw the line? Because I think everybody in this space, in the nutrition diet space, they pull the cart before the horse. And, from a diabetic standpoint, Peter, do you have to be careful about what supplements you're like? Does that affect you? Like, how do you navigate your this with you?
Yeah, it's really confusing because likewise they in the way that they fool people that supplements will help you build muscle and all these things, they also fool diabetics in selling supplements and pretending that it will help to manage your blood glucose levels, for example, or that it will reduce complications from diabetes. And often it makes little difference or none at all, because if you add cinnamon to your diet, for example, a cinnamon supplement, it will not do anything really if your blood glucose management is not already good to start with. It might tune it a little bit, but that's it. And all those supplements, they are artificial, even if they come from a natural source. That's the thing. You can source it from nice supplements from beef liver or from algae or whatever, wherever it comes from, even natural places. It's still unnatural to add it to your diet, and do it only if it's like, if your diet is 100% in order, and then add it, or in some special cases where you are long-term deficient in certain nutrients, maybe B vitamins or so, then there might be a place for it. But in general, it's just like profit for big companies or individuals selling supplements, I think.
And
Yeah, because
go ahead, Mark.
sorry, Tony. No, just a quick one. Like I did a video last week on me just cooking a steak, and I did a video on it, and I got 2 people on it with negative comments saying, like, listen, this was for breakfast. This was my first meal, and I got 2 negative comments saying that I'm trying to mislead a lot of people, and that really annoyed me. That really annoyed me. So all week I was thinking, okay, how do I actually do a video on this? So I did a video yesterday. I walked into a shop and I said, right, okay, people are saying that I'm misleading the audience. But I went into the shop and I picked up a few products. Now, one of the products, it says on it, gut health, right? So you take this product, it's meant to fix your gut, all this bullshit. I turned it around and I looked at the ingredients. Guys, these are only about that size. These cartons, like this size, 14 grams of sugar in this little things, right? So I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that I'm misleading the audience when these people are convincing you to go into the shop and buy the shit.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because not only the sugar, but if you think about, and I think this is a big thing that people overlook quite often, and I think this is something that we don't realize. There's people out there that sort of preach this, but the food matrix, how food is in nature with the right amount of things and the right amount of counteracting, even in some vegetables, there's like, beta carotene, carotenoid. They've done studies that if you use beta carotene on its own without whatever else is in around it, it can be toxic. And the question was, is this dangerous? So we look at a multivitamin and we see beta carotene by itself and all these other synthetic vitamins that aren't in the natural ratio proportion doing things. And I think that's something that it's impossible to study, because you can study one and affect, does it have an effect? But when it's involved with other stuff that's supposed to be there, that are all working in synergy, that's something that's overlooked, is the food matrix. And if you have these diets, they're overlooking what humans are supposed to eat. And I think that's the conversation that is the most important to have, because if you eat a proper human diet, argue it, and you're feeling good and you're healthy and you're all the things are working in your body, it's hard to argue it's wrong. But when you start like picking out all these things, because I take this for that and this for that and this for that, polyphenols, carotenoids, they're not essential nutrients, and by themselves they may be doing more harm. I don't know what you guys think about that.
And you know what? We've been doing this now a couple of months, and every time we came on, we always said the same thing. We always said, listen, we're not doctors. We're just giving out nutrition advice. That's all we're doing. Not once, from what I recall, have we ever tried and sell anything to anybody.
No.
Not once. None of us own a supplement brand. None of us are talking about medication. We just talk about what we're doing at the moment, and that's just basically eating proper food. We've never tried to demonize anything else. All we've tried to do is this, that just do more research, and hopefully you guys are listening to us and you're actually understanding the research, that when you hear this word, trust the science, well, all three of us are arguing against that, because we've done this in the past. We did trust the science. We went by the guidelines. We went by the government's guidelines when it comes to our food system. We all did it. It didn't work. It didn't work for all of us. Tony struggled with his mental health. He said this on many occasions. He only did this last week on his addiction. Peter's a type 1 diabetic. He could never get the answers that he wanted. He had to figure out all this himself. Myself as well. I was in a deep depression for a very, very long time, and nobody could tell me the reason. I had to figure out all this myself. And this is what we're trying to get across to people, that you don't need to figure this out on yourself. We're just trying to give you a different opinion.
Like, you know what? And what you're saying there, Mark, too, is like, and I think this is all sort of what we all did, but without really, like, I always have a tough time labeling something. Like, what I did. This is what I actually did was I took a leap of faith and tried something based on discernment. I looked at it. I was like, all my life I've been going, like, there was times where I'd eat healthy, but it did nothing. Like, even like working out in the gym, I did not see physically. Yeah, I got lean-ish, always had a belly, always carried body fat, didn't really feel good. It was always suffering to get a result. By the time that result came, you just revert back to it. So I was eating arguably healthy, but yet nothing was working. And then when I decided to, like, there was a turning point where I had to take my health into my hands, or else that was it. I figured something out for me, because it was working. Everything sort of fell into place. And it's not something that I was like, I think a lot of people, when they start the carnivore diet, they may be drawn into these miraculous, oh, look, I did this and I lost like 20 pounds in a week. That is not everybody. And I mean, I have clients now that they're kind of 3-4 months in and they're not losing weight. And I'm just trying to reassure them, like, you are eating better than 98% of the planet, and your body is changing, adapting, and we're going to figure this out piece by piece so that a year from now, you're on your own way. And I think that's the dietary dogma. Throw it out the window. It's you need to figure out for you what works for you.
In a way, I wish for everybody to have a very long journey towards, for example, carnivore or even something else, keto or low carb or even medium carb, because that way at least you'll learn things from it. And if you go straight into carnivore, you'll probably have seen it you've seen it on YouTube or on Instagram or TikTok or something like that. And it might work. And if you have some guidance, you'll end up in the same place maybe. but the learning process is so important, and I think for all three of us, if I talk for myself, it started with just doing a Mediterranean type of diet, and it already did good for me. I mean, avoiding sugars and processed foods was really good.
Yeah.
My blood glucose control compared to a lot of diabetics has been always very good because of this. A1C maybe at a 6 or so, but it didn't do wonders for my daily life yet. And going low carb, that was the first step. And then keto, and you learn so much, because if you go keto, yeah, you see all the keto products in the supermarkets, and you get confronted with all these supplements that you don't need. And luckily, I realized it quite quickly. And I followed people like Ken Berry or so. Well, he does sell, or at least um, promote certain supplements, I think. I don't know which ones he sells. He also sells some of them, I think. But he is a very, he's not stressing it too much. And he is earning a lot of money already from his YouTube channel and all other stuff, rightfully so, I think. So he can still follow a very natural approach. And that's where I learned most of my things. And people like Anthony Chafee, well, he is sponsored by the Carnivore bar, but it's just a side income, because he's still a doctor or a surgeon, I think. And yeah, I forgot where I wanted to go, but that's important. Just go for the natural approach, and you'll be fine. And every food, in fact, is keto. Eh? If you go into the supermarket, yeah, that's the problem. The processed foods, strictly speaking, are still keto.
Yeah.
But a thing like a banana can be keto, like half a banana, or if you're very active, even one banana can be keto, because you won't go out of ketosis if you are immediately consuming the metabolizing and using the energy from it.
Yeah.
And
you know,
that happened actually with me on the bike. If I would be cycling day long and you eat a banana, you're still in ketosis.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of why I like when I talk to people, or I'm like talking to a client, and I I explain to them that I don't want to be a 30-day thing. Like I believe in challenging yourself, and there's some good things that come out of that stuff, or trying something. But when you're actually taking this on for you, there is things that we can't foresee. And if you're starting to build your body, and I don't mean in the gym with muscles, I mean your whole awareness of your body, there are things that I can't tell you. You have to feel. I can't tell you. I can tell you salmon is healthy. I can say it's got omega 3s, wild caught sockeye salmon. But if you don't feel good eating salmon, how is that? Like you can't, you got to feel it. And it's not personal. And I mean, we've talked about some people with beef. Obviously we eat a lot of beef, and I'm a big proponent in the nutrition. It's undeniable that it's, arguably a superfood, but some people don't do well on it. And it's something that you can't, someone tries carnivore for 30 days and says, hey, look, I'm not feeling good on beef. Well, let it go. Try some, like,
Yeah. I'm just going to bring it back to what you said about exercise as well, Tony, before I forget about it. I believe this is damaging people's health. I'll tell you the reason why. Because when people focus on weight loss and they're not focusing on the internal stuff,
yes,
they're damaging stuff, because they're focusing on body dysmorphia. They're focusing on their relationship with food. They're focused on these food disorders. This is what leads to food eating disorder.
Yeah.
So when I look at back what I was doing, this is what I used to do. I used to be very, very conscious about how I looked.
Yeah.
I would be scared about putting on weight. You know what I mean? When it came to like the likes of fats, I wouldn't go near them, because they contain too many calories.
Yeah.
When my food addiction, it was unbelievable. Nobody could ever tell me what was going on. So I had an unbelievable eating disorder, which I never even realized I had it, and nobody could even tell me. So even though people could get me in amazing shape, and I did it for myself, I've said this many times. I've been working in this industry for a long time. What I had this constant doing this yo-yo effect when it comes to weight loss. I would gain the weight, I would lose the weight, I would gain the weight, I would lose the weight. I never got to a stage in my life where I was happy, like really happy. Like I don't need to think about food anymore. I don't need to think about calories. I don't need to think about going to the gym every single day. Like you mentioned, Tony, I'm ruining myself, like literally ruining myself. If I eat a bar of chocolate, the guilt I would feel, I have to go to the gym the next day to burn it off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas now, I'm at a stage now where I don't track anything.
No.
I eat 2 meals a day. I give my body exactly the nutrient it needs, and I look even better than what I did 20 years ago.
And there's something to be said about that, because like you looking robustly healthy, you know, and it's so funny that you say that, Mark, because I mean, we've all sort of, you know, with being active is one thing, but when you feel good, your body will say, let's do some movement. Let's do it.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? Just wanted to say thanks for being here. Hope you're enjoying this conversation with the boys. I just wanted to remind everybody, it helps if you can like, subscribe to the channel, and if this information can help somebody, please share it. We could use the help in spreading the word and sharing our message. Also, I am taking new clients. If you resonate with one of us, reach out to us. We're here for you. You can find me at tonystewartcoaching.com or tonystewartcoach@gmail. Also, you know, obviously you can just message me here. If you want to get a hold of Mark, he's at Fitness Beyond Time 01 on all channels. And Peter is at the Dutch Carnivore. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the support. And we'll talk soon.
Let's get out of bed today. Let's do that.
And it doesn't have to be much, eh? I mean, as long as you're active and doing something in the household, go have a walk with people, all sort of stuff.
And I think when it's kind of funny how this is all labeled around that, because you know the food system, the selling, the products, all this stuff gears you towards, well, all you have to do to be healthy is go to the gym and work out. And it's not true. Like that is, you are gonna, like, every time, I've done it my whole life. You work out for 3 months, you're in it, and then all of a sudden, what happens? You don't want, something happens where you're either had enough or you need a break, and that break never ends. But if you start,
but can I just add in one? Sorry, Tony, I just want to add this one point. Like most people go to the gym because they want to become insulin sensitive. That's the most important thing. Right, so they're focusing on they want to get in shape as quick as possible. So a lot of people won't understand the insulin model, but a lot of people need to go to the gym because they want to be insulin sensitive. That's what everybody should be focusing on. Okay, but people need to understand this. Yes, you can do that in the gym, but it's not going to make any sense if you're going into the gym, becoming insulin sensitive for that hour and a half, and then you come out of that gym, and then you're feeding the habit again. You're giving your body the wrong tools in order for you to lose that weight, which is what you should be focusing on. Yeah. So when people say, okay, what's more important, the nutrition or the training? They both work hand in hand.
Of course.
You need to understand that there's not one that's going to be better than the other. But you need to also understand this, that we need to move away from this external stuff about losing the weight, because that's not going to fix the internal stuff. No. So if you're,
it's nice that you come with. It's nice you come up. It's nice you come up with this, Mark, because increasing your insulin sensitivity happens indeed during exercise, but people don't realize that indeed it has to do with diet, and long-term insulin sensitivity can only be, I think, changed to a larger degree by changing your diet. And with diabetics, you see a lot of times that they think that it's good to have a walk and exercise because it lowers your insulin resistance. But what people start to do is stressing. So if they're like people go to the gym too often, likewise, diabetics, when they have a high blood sugar, they will run it off or they will walk it off. And it's the wrong approach. It's a reactive approach. And every time your blood glucose is high, you'll just add extra stress by exercising, and typically it will be like more the cardio type of or endurance exercise. But I think it's good, of course, if you have the time and if it fits your daily life to have a walk. But even if you have a walk every time because your blood glucose is high, that's wrong. It's reactive, and you should avoid carbohydrates. And in a healthy individual, you should change your diet and focus on whole foods, low in carbohydrates.
Basically, what you're both saying is exercise is good. Nutrition is nutrition, and it's good. You do both. And I see it all the time where people, they're obese, and I'm at the track or I'm out for a walk because I walk every day to get in my head. I have some time to myself. I can do some thinking. Sometimes I listen to music. Sometimes I listen to our podcast Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. live every Sunday. And sometimes, I listen to a lecture, or it's just my time. I don't really think about it as I'm doing anything for me, my, insulin, or I ever think about that. I don't think about calories. I just it's good to move, and I get in my head. And I think my point was, I see people at the track that are obese hammering their knees, jogging, and it freaks me out because I'm like, who told you to do that? Like, holy shit, you're 300 pounds, sweating like a, I don't want to say it, but anyway, sweating their little balls off, and they're hammering their knees, and then they're hammering and it's just, I'm like, oh my Lord, you're going to get injured, and then where are you at?
I think there's a universal problem. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just gonna add to that. And then when you go over to this overweight person that's running, and you say to them, like, listen, you need to stop doing this. You really do. You need to understand that your nutrition is very, very important. The minute they hear that, saying that from you, they're like, he's trying to sell me something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's like, where do you go with this conversation? It's like, listen, what you're doing is not right. Whoever's giving you this information, it's not right. This is the reason why your joints are gonna get destroyed. Like, people don't understand this though. If you're obese and you're carrying a shitload of weight, you are going to destroy your knees. We only had this conversation with Susan last week, myself and Peter. Susan was overweight for a very, very long time. She was told, like, listen, just go to Weight Watchers, go to these running clubs, you'll be fine. Okay, while she was doing this, she destroyed her knees. Destroyed them. Now, I've been working with this woman for over 3 months. In the first 6 weeks, this woman was not able to get off the chair.
Yeah.
Okay, she was not able to get off the chair. We did nothing in the gym for the first 6 weeks. You'll hear this on the podcast.
Yeah.
Right, for 6 weeks, she did nothing. Not a thing. This woman had to walk around with crutches or be in a wheelchair. Okay?
So, sorry, Mark, 1 second. Go back on Sunday and see the episode with Susan. Shameless plug. Go ahead. Sorry.
She was she'll tell you our story herself. She was overweight. First 6 weeks, when we jumped on the call, she was like, Mark, I can't go to the gym. I told her out straight on day one, you won't be needing the gym.
Yeah.
I said it to her, like, listen, don't worry about the gym. I just want you to eat properly. She was like, but I want to lose weight. I told her, I said, listen, forget about the weight. I want to focus on your health. Yes. I had to keep on convincing this woman on a week-to-week basis on our check-ins, Susan, stop. I don't want to hear about your weight loss. This poison about weight loss, this poison about the scales, I want you to throw it out. Throw it out. I'm here. You took me on because you want to be healthier. That's why I had to reassure her. She trusted me for that 12 weeks.
Yes.
She came on with us last week. The woman looks incredible. 6 weeks later, her knee issues are gone. All the inflammation is gone. She's in a gym now. She's doing the training that she thought she would never be able to do.
She wants to move.
She's able to squat now, Tony.
Yeah, that's
she's
it.
Able to squat.
You know what?
It's incredible.
When you talk about like stuff like that, like I talk to people all the time in the clinic, and they're in for all the addiction and all sorts of stuff. But The point is, I have to do this. I have to ask them what they're eating, what their diet's like. So many people with IBS, some kind of digestion issue, chronic pain, and I'm like looking at them going, when I tell you that oatmeal is driving this, if you stop eating grains, and I'm sorry, all the experts can say how healthy this shit is for you, but if you stop eating this stuff, you will see a difference in 7 days. If you stop eating this stuff for 30 days, you are going to see a fantastic turnaround. If you stop this for 90 days, you probably won't ever eat oatmeal again. But they look at me like, but it's healthy. And it's crazy, man. And that's
look. And now I'm thinking again about the what I was thinking about before, and the same with oats. They are healthy because they are full of fiber and they are high in protein. So, but fiber, protein, low fat, low calorie, all these things. But the same also for exercise in the gym. And there's always focus on, let's say, 1, 2, or maybe 3 parameters that you have to maximize, and then things become super healthy. So I've got the doorbell's ringing. I have to collect my meat box.
Oh yeah, go get it. Bring it on, buddy. Let's see the meat box. But yeah.
No, and what Peter said about the fiber issue. When you ask these people and say, okay, listen, okay, I'm gonna listen to your logic. You're telling me that I need to eat fiber, but I want you to tell me the reason why I need to eat fiber. These people will say, well, it's going to slow down the absorption. It's going to control our glucose spikes. And then when you go back with a question and say, well, hang on a second, where did these glucose spikes come from? They're like, well, it comes from processed foods. And you're like, no, that's not where it comes from. You need to understand that all glucose spikes comes from all carbohydrates, every single one of them, whether it's vegetables, fruits, whether it's grains, whether it's bread, whether it's any carbohydrate, they're all going to have the same impact. And they're like, no, hang on a second, fruit is not going to be the same. And it's like, how do you talk to these people?
I know.
How do you talk to these people?
You did it. Yeah, you actually did a video with that guy, and it's like this is the problem. If you follow the mainstream doctors, guidelines, whatever, and you are broken and you are sick, you are suffering, why would you continue to listen to them?
Exactly.
Because you need to figure it out. Because if you want to be on a pill, take an injection, have Sharon Osbourne Ozempic face for the rest of your life, that is your choice. But when somebody presents something that's so extreme, such a fad and radical that thousands, if not millions of people are getting these things, some not right away, some take 6, 7, 8 months, years to do this. Where are you committed? Because I hear so many sympathy stories about, oh, I'm broken because my body is breaking down. And it's like, when you present them with a possibility, they won't even give it 30 days. And that's what breaks my heart, because it's like, okay, I don't care if you think carnivore is good or bad, but give your gut a rest. Cut the stuff your body doesn't need for 30 days. That includes all carbohydrates and fiber.
But see, Tony, the problem is, and this is the reality, unfortunately, sex sells.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, you're 50, I'm 50. There's people out there that are in their 50s. I know them. They're incredible. They're on TRT. They're on steroids. They look incredible. And every time they do a video, they have the top off. People are looking at this and saying, well, he's eating the carbohydrates, he's eating the grains, he's eating the vegetables, so he's healthy. Yeah. And that's what infuriates me. Absolutely, because I know, I think I spoke to you guys about this last week, that we need to speak about this TRT, because a lot of people are telling me, like, listen, it's completely natural, it's fine. And this is coming from a lot of carnivores. This is coming from a lot of carnivores that I'm seeing this on. And I think this is a topic that we need to have very soon.
Yeah, we can.
But anyway, these people are coming on their feeds on these videos. They look incredible. They have their tops off, and they're eating the carnivore diet, but they're adding in the carbohydrates. They're saying like you can have these carbohydrate refeeds. You can have them once a week. And I'm looking at these people. I'm saying, guys, you've been led down a lie.
Yeah,
you really
well,
are.
that makes me think, because there was the one of the biggest things was, and it kind of, and I this is kind of a touchy subject because a couple of years ago, maybe I don't know how many years ago, whatever, the Liver King started blowing up, like obviously. And you coming from a fitness industry, you look at that guy. There's not a chance that he wasn't on something. And people are like, "Oh, he's natural." I'm like, there is no bloody way. And he was like flat out. I was like, okay. You know what? Then he's a complete genetic freak. Do not think that he's a diamond in the rough at best. At worst, he's on soap, and it proved that he was on a laundry list of performance enhancement stuff, which, you know what? It is what it is. To me, I saw through that right away. But what he was preaching, if you look at his ancestral tenets, I agree with them. I agree with But then I don't agree with him dumping on maple syrup, saying it's okay to do this. We are not him.
Exactly.
So they basically, and unfortunately, he has a supplement line, which I'm not opposed to either. I'm not opposed to, organ, if you want to try some to see how it goes. I don't think you need them, but some people that aren't eating any red meat might do well with some desiccated liver. That's a whole other topic. But this Liver King got, in this video, he got basically branded like carnivore diet will, like, this guy is all about. And I'm like, that just gave I can understand where it comes from, because people see that and they go, well, he was lying. He was like, this is not what it's, and I think that's the problem, is we just scratch on that. I see how people could see that being an issue, which it sucks, because for a while there, he was ambassadoring this way of eating. And I think it was giving people false hope. And I mean, all of his intent and his execution was pretty phenomenal. Like, I believe in, almost everything he's saying, but I think it really, really knocked the human ancestral awareness back because he lied. And because people didn't realize, like, I mean, I honestly, man, I was like, this guy, there's not a kid. When he said, I'm not on anything, I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. You just ruined our movement, because that is going to put such a dark cast shadow on everything that we're trying to do. Because you know what? Like, I mean, and if you look at his 7 ancestral tenets, they are great. Connect.
And see that, and that's the reason why the likes of Paul Saladino is not helping us at all, because this is why people are getting on social media and saying this is the reason why the carnivore diet doesn't work, because you're going to eventually add these foods back in, and people are looking at him and saying, well, he's the perfect example. So people are leading on him, and then other people that do the experiments, there's a few other people that are doing the experiments on carnivore. People are looking at that and saying, well, this is the reason why carnivore is not working. Because they're going back into the vegetables, they're going back to eating the honeys, all this rubbish, and then they're assuming that everybody is doing the exact same thing.
And you know what? That's true, because Paul Saladino, for me, he comes up with such good stuff on processed food and what to watch out for. And I'm like, Paul, welcome back. You're great. And then he throws in, you should be eating 120 grams of carbohydrates or whatever it is a day. And it's like, okay, man, like, and if you have your audience and you have your way, you want to help people figure it out, that's true. But look at where he lives. Look at what he does. Look at what he's able to source. He's able to source the perfect, look at his house. I want to live there. I think it's amazing, right? But I don't live in Costa Rica. I can't pick fruit off the tree. I have to budget my food and do the best I can with the quality I can afford. So that's not the same for everybody. And I think that's the problem, is these guys get pushed into carnivore's a fad. Or look, if you do this, I didn't work out. And I mean, even the stuff like, oh, someone had a stroke on carnivore. Now that, to me, is another propaganda machine, because somebody that's trying to explain their story, quite often you'll find that there's a lot more to it than just, listen, my decades of abuse and ill health, and like, I was abusing my body for decades. If I have a heart attack tomorrow, it is not because of 3 years carnivore. And
Exactly.
that's what I'm worried about, is because did I do irreparable damage in my 20s and 30s that now I'm trying to, get back to, and that's where we don't know. But, I think that's where everything gets so pulled into this dogmatic polarization where, vegans and carnivores, and all you have to do is just look at the long-term vegan influencers. They self-destruct. And that's just
Yeah.
honest. That's just observation. I have not seen Sean Baker, and I can only assume he's doing what he's saying. He may be doing something else. I don't know, but I can pretty much tell a natural athlete. The guy is a monster genetically, and he's not Liver King shredded. He is,
No.
you know what I mean? And his workouts, I mean, he's going up against, Stan Efferding doing 400-pound deadlifts for 25 reps. The guy's a monster, but he's not changed his dietary sort of, like, he's tried things. We've all followed him, and I think his stuff is amazing because he's living it, showing it, and he's not dogmatic. He has his opinions, and he voices them, but he doesn't say anything except you should be eating meat. Meat should be part of your diet. It should be a very big part of your diet, and don't fear meat. You know what I mean? It's not just do the Sean Baker diet. He arguably coined the carnivore diet. I don't really care, because I'm with you, Mark. I don't think a diet is the answer. I think it's about you.
Exactly.
Finding what works with you within a framework is everything. And I think
100%.
And when you get caught up and captured by products in any situation, why do you need them?
You have to follow a holistic approach. I mean, it's always like what I told you about high protein or high fiber is being healthy. But in the same way, I remember from being on a gluten-free diet, at some point, I'm so focused on getting gluten-free foods, and I end up in the organic shops and finding all kinds of nice ingredients. But then for me, gluten-free and organic becomes sort of, without realizing, at some point it becomes synonymous for being healthy. And likewise, I also realize now, after this long journey, all the way towards carnivore, that I shouldn't say that, oh, this is carnivore, so it's healthy. No, it doesn't work like this. Also within the carnivore food family, let's say, all the meats and animal products, there is a lot of unhealthy stuff. I mean, if I eat eggs that are not sourced from a reliable place, then I feel it. If I eat garbage meat or processed meat, that will have a very different impact. And besides that, when you look at the carnivore community and a lot of common, just average carnivores around there, look at channels like Dave Mack's channel with all the interviews, you'll just see people focusing on eating whole foods, healthy meat. Usually they at some point, they typically, if they can afford it, at least they don't buy the cheapest meat in the supermarket. They focus on all kinds of other health aspects in daily life. They start to focus on the circadian rhythms and who knows what, all these things. But there is not like a thing like, this is carnivore and I just have to stick to carnivore foods, and then I'm doing everything all right, and I'm healthy. And in a similar way, if I just eat a mandarin, I'm eating that right now. I'm just treating me, it's nice weather, and in the evening I'll eat this one. I rarely do it, but is it unhealthy? I don't think so. It's not unhealthy if it's just an organic piece of fruit in season, a small piece, even as a diabetic, it's fine. But just don't get confused and focus on single aspects.
Well, I think this video that I saw this morning too was they were mentioning all these organic food companies, all these organic produce. There's like 25 different pesticides in or this Driscoll's organic strawberries. So is it good? Is it bad? Is it? I would say, like you just mentioned, Peter, this is kind of my idea of stuff is local, seasonal, and as close to God and Mother Nature intended. And I think we get way too overblown with, like, if something's from Mexico and I'm buying it in my produce department, how in the hell can that be good? I mean, is there nutrients in there? Maybe, but that transportation, it's not natural. It's not. We didn't do that. That's the thing. Local, seasonal. There's a framework where it's, human food. People argue hunter-gatherers. Well, we ate more plants. Okay, you go pick lettuce or arugula, natural arugula, and feed a family with that. You'll be gathering for 100 years. Like, come on, man. It just doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I would be gathering as I'm praying to the Creator for the hunt to be successful so I can feed my kids. That's what, like, anybody wants to argue that, you're ridiculous. Go to a desert island. Go landlock yourself and see what you do. You're going to be looking for water. You're going to be looking for shelter. And you're going to be looking for something to kill to eat. You're not going to be looking to grow the next crop and mill it down to, it's just, and this is where I get like, I see where people go, but it's just literally back it up and just think about it. We didn't have blood tests. We didn't have disease. We didn't have food availability. We didn't have skip the dishes. What the hell did we do? We survived.
Yeah, it's the same with supplements. Now that you talk about this, RDAs for minerals and vitamins, they are just made up by humans. And yes, there is science behind it, but think about how they are derived. The only way that you can derive it is doing tests in a lab, maybe, but basically you have to check what you're eating and measure in the blood periodically and with a lot of people, and look at what the effect is from eating the food and measure how much vitamins and minerals is there in that food. And measure what happens in the bloodstream, basically, of humans, or maybe even at the cell level. But then you're not there yet, because people are on specific diets. People have maybe medical conditions that will alter the absorption of vitamins and minerals. And also, if you lower your minerals in a natural context, if certain minerals are less available in your food, I mean, now I'm just hypothesizing, but if certain things are less available, your body will probably put more effort in trying to absorb them and keep reservoirs of those things where possible. And particularly with minerals, I think that for most carnivores, it's actually not needed at some point to supplement electrolytes.
I mean, that comes into the argument where antioxidants, like was Richard Smith had a great talk. Actually, it was a great little video with Dr. Eric Westman. Love him. Lee Corpus, Kent Carnivore, and Richard Smith. And they were going through a lot of stuff. And Richard Smith was saying, like, listen, antioxidants, they're actually pro-oxidants. And when you actually break down what goes on, that's the thing with all these nutritional requirements. In what context? So we know, because we don't have scurvy. It's just that is a fact. Our vitamin C requirements go down when you're not eating sugar. It's not rocket science. It's just a fact. So if that's possible with vitamin C, is it possible with potassium? Is it possible with other B vitamins that are, playing around together? When you're not damaging your body, you may not need as many things to repair it. And, the antioxidant that is prevalent, glutathione, our body produces it. It doesn't come from a food. So there's so much nuance there.
An obvious example is spinach, right? If you eat spinach to get iron and
actually,
calcium.
that video today, they bashed spinach hard. They came down on it
Yeah.
hard. I was like, well done, well done. Sorry, Peter, go on.
Well, yeah, most people will know it when they watch our videos, or there are a lot of anti-nutrients in spinach. They will block the absorption of certain minerals. And likewise, what I talked about, if you have medical conditions or certain metabolic context, metabolic syndrome, those things will alter the needs for certain vitamins. And I also think about B vitamins, for example. And vitamin C. If you eat a lot of carbohydrates, you'll need a lot of vitamin C.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, like, from my nutrition school, like, I honestly think B vitamins are the missing link in our human health, because they are water soluble. There's no way really of testing them aside from B12, but the B vitamins that we're constantly using, how do they know? There's no, and if you look at any kind of thing, they don't have an upper limit. They don't know what the optimal amount is. They just know the amount to prevent deficiency. And if you test, say, for instance, B1, which is the most abundant B vitamin that we require most of, reason why it's called B1 probably.
Yeah, and why do we need them? I mean, there's one big indicator for it. The fact that all those B vitamins are in meat.
Yes.
Well, we don't eat human meat, but if you would measure how many B vitamins there are in human meat, probably it's very similar.
That's what we need, right? And it's funny because B3, for instance, I did a project in my nutrition school about niacin, and all the stuff like pellagra being the disease of deficiency, which actually was a big thing in the States and in Europe back in the early 1900s. Well, they tell you to eat all these grains and dark leafy greens and stuff. Well, what's the best source of B3? Liver. Any liver. What's the next best source? Fish. What's the next best source? Red meat. And it's like
eggs, probably.
Yeah, it's like, oh, but then plant-based sources are. So when you get that trade-off, now they're coming out with the science about folic acid, how it's bullshit, and folate is necessary, which is a B vitamin. But
I wonder, by the way, if you would be eating, yes, you would be eating meat, but also, let's say 50-50, mixed diet, basically. Let's say a Western diet, you do a healthy diet also, and you eat small pieces of meat, like 100 grams, a quarter of a pound every day or so.
Yeah.
Probably those B vitamins will be absorbed far less.
Yes.
And you'll need lots more of it. And if you eat only meat, you'll get away with probably, I don't know, in terms of B vitamins, probably less than 1 pound a day.
Yeah. No doubt. And I mean, it's funny how we're going to tie this back into the processed food, all the products, all the time, because they block those things. And they're telling you to eat these things in spite of other things that aren't natural. And I think the further you go away from natural anything, it's pretty clear that every time we mess with Mother Nature, we get smacked in the face. And I think that's probably the sort of the takeaway of this is that there's dogma everywhere. There's people, experts telling you what to do, what not to do. You need this. Well, there is a proper species-specific diet. It exists. We can argue what it is. I think a lot of times we get caught up in all the distractions, the smoke and mirrors. You must do this. I think it comes down to you need to use your discernment. Don't take things personally and figure out and base it, like it's my opinion, to base it on essential nutrients, what your body actually requires. You may have to figure out the amounts. You may have to play around with that a little bit. But I think when you build a foundation of what your body requires and then sort of expand or retract from that standpoint, I think it's a good idea. And I mean, it's not about carnivore, keto, vegan, vegetarian. I think it's possible to be healthy with a lot of different protocols, but you have to kind of break it down to you. That's my opinion.
But I think anyway, if you end up with a protocol where you have to think too much, if you have to overthink, what you're doing during the day, then that's a big red flag and showing you that you're not there yet.
Yeah.
You should be able to eat intuitively. Also, when you look at the animal world, humans in that sense are no different. It would be very silly if you have to be the smartest guy in daily life to have a normal diet and to be healthy. That evolutionary makes no sense. All animals in the world are perfectly healthy, and they don't think about what they are putting in their mouth. They just eat until they are full, and then they go sleep or have a run or whatever.
Well, buddy, I think we're going to wind this one up because I think we lost Mark, but you know, his Irish internet is
and I'm going to open my meat box.
All right. Well, we'll hopefully we get a video of that. We'll
have
some fun. Anyway, Peter, any final thoughts, and let people know where they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, you can find me at the Dutch Carnivore, and there will be new videos coming soon.
Awesome. And for Mark, you can find Mark at Fitness Beyond Time 01 on Instagram and TikTok. Myself, you can find me here on YouTube at Tony Stewart Coach. Obviously, if you're here, we thank you. You can also find me on TikTok at Tony_Food for Thought and Instagram and all the stuff. We're all going to post it in the links below in the description. We talked about some good things today, man. I like where this is going. We're kind of just trying to share the message, and please help us. We appreciate the support, the questions, and the engagement. If you don't mind, hit the like button, subscribe to our channels, both of us, the Dutch Carnivore and Food for Thought. And, leave a comment. We appreciate it. And if you can, share this with somebody that needs to hear this stuff. We're just trying to get this message out there that becoming human and eating real food is a very powerful, important message. And you can take the power back. You can reverse and do things that are deemed impossible by doing that. We are live every Sunday on these channels at the Meat of the Matter podcast, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. in the Netherlands, and 6 p.m. in the UK and Ireland. We'd love to see you there. We'd love to get into this stuff. And that's Mark, that's Peter, and I'm Tony. And we will see you Sunday and very soon. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.